When?
Professora, posso começar já?
I believe we can start. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Thank you.
thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Teaching TOEFL iBT Skills Workshop Part 1. We are thrilled to have you all here today for this exciting session. We're gonna have the experience of knowing more about overview of the TOEFL iBT test in the reading section. Before we begin, let me make a moment to introduce ourselves to our esteemed guest. First, our teacher, Professor Gina, and our teacher, Professor Edson. Director Professor Ajahn Bloom is an incredible and dedicated professional who has spent moreover 9 years working with the client relations and business within the higher education community in Brazil. She has extensive experience with bilingual high school programs in English-speaking schools and institutes. Director, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here with us today. On behalf of the GCUB Directive Board, we extend our heartfelt thanks for your presence here and the invaluable contribution that you are about to make. Now, I will give the floor to you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. Thank you very much, Juan, for this introduction. It's a pleasure to be here one more time and to present very relevant information about English proficiency tests, right? English proficiency. And we're talking about the most wide English proficiency test in the world. So the TOEFL iBT is accepted in more than 12,000 institutions all over the world in more than 130 countries. So it's my pleasure to be here. We are honored with this partnership with the GCUB. We wanted to thank you. This partnership, we've been working with the GCUB for almost 3 years, and today it's another opportunity to talk with teachers from the universities associated to the GCUB. I want to thank you, Professor Canella, who's also here today in this session. Who is going to be presenting the next session on October 13th. And he will be here with us for some time, for a moment. And thank you, Edson, for being here. Okay, so I am based in Brasilia, and I would like to welcome Brandon and Ana Paula for being here. And who else are here? I think for now we have Brandon and Ana Paula, right? Please let us know where are you from and which university do you represent? Okay, Edson, please.
Yes, Jenny, just a quick correction. You said October something. It's
13.
No, it's not. Isn't it September 29th?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, the last
You are
one,
on October 13, and I'm on September 29th. Okay, just a correction.
Thank you, thank you, thank you for the correction, for the observation, and I'm sure that Juan will post the correct date for our next sessions. Okay, it has been changed. Okay, the time of the next sessions. Okay, but not the date. The date is the same. Okay, but the sessions will be presented a little bit earlier next time. Okay, but Juan will let you know on the chat. Okay, welcome Julian, welcome Werner. It's a pleasure to have you here, and I am I'm looking here at the notes, but I'm gonna look at the chat because somebody has said Brandon is from Rio, and he represents the UFF, Federal Fluminense. Oh, great. Welcome, Brandon. I was in Rio 3 weeks ago, to attend the Education USA Fair in Rio de Janeiro, the capital. Okay, so let's start our session. I'm going to share my screen, and please let me know if you can see the information. Somebody else has shared here, Ana Paula. She is from Londrina, Paraná, and she works as a teacher in internationalization on program at Universidade Estadual de Londrina. That's great. We have visited Universidade Estadual de Londrina, the well. It was a very good visit. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Werner. Okay, I'm gonna start to share my screen, and please let me know if you don't see the information that I'm sharing. All right, so it looks like everyone is seeing my screen. Thank you. So today we have the pleasure to be here with you to bring information about the TOEFL iBT. Actually is a teaching TOEFL iBT skills workshop. So this workshop was developed especially for English teachers, okay, who is preparing the students for the TOEFL iBT, or is interested in producing and planning classes related to the English skills assessed on the TOEFL iBT. So we highly encourage you to get all the advantages of the information that will be shared here, and share and apply to your classes, okay? Because as we always share here, TOEFL iBT is not a test that you take it and that's it. No, it's a test that while you are studying for it, you're improving. Your student is improving your students are improving their English. So the more they study for the TOEFL, the more they get prepared for the TOEFL, the higher the level of the student will be. So I am the associate director of ETS. I am a TOEFL iBT academic and business consultant, and I have a master's degree in TESOL from the University of Washington in Seattle. And guess what? I had to take the TOEFL iBT in order to be accepted on the program. And that was one of the best experiences for me to practice and study for the test, because everything that I learned from the TOEFL iBT, that I studied for the TOEFL iBT, I saw it at the university that I was going for my master's program. I mean, all the skills that I developed while I was studying for the test, I was able to apply at the University of Washington. All right, so this is pretty much what we are gonna do today, okay, from 6 to 7:30. So I'm hoping that I'm gonna be able to cover everything. Okay, so Juan, please, if you haven't shared the workshop menu yet, I would appreciate if you could share the link with the file, okay, so the teachers can follow the information that I'm gonna share here. Okay, so please use that manual for all the sessions that you are going to attend in this workshop. Okay, all the information that we are going to be sharing here is there, and there in the manual you're going to find much more information than what we're going to share here, because this is a virtual workshop. We tend to be as quick as possible. We tend to shorten it, okay? But the content of the TOEFL iBT is so extensive, right? So you will see a lot of good content for your classes and for the preparation of your classes on that manual, okay? So we are going to do an overview of the TOEFL iBT test today and of the reading section, which is the first section of the test, okay? In the end, if we have time, we will do a quick summary of the content that we provided in this section and answer to the final questions, okay? All right, that's the workshop manual. Please let me know if you haven't received it, and if you haven't been able to open the file, okay? It's a large file, so I'm hoping that you will be able to open it. Please let us know if you were not able to open the file. Let's talk about workshop objectives, okay? What are you doing here today? Why did you register for this workshop? What is the objective of this workshop? Why did ETS create this workshop? Okay, so we first of all we will examine the scoring guides. Okay, we're gonna review the TOEFL iBT test content first. We're going to identify the languages measured on the TOEFL iBT and show how those skills are related to academic success. We're going to explain and use the scoring guides for speaking and writing. So you're going to see that next, okay, in the next session, to score real test taker responses. We are also going to identify classroom learning objectives for each skill and demonstrate classroom activities for skill development and assessment based on TOEFL iBT test learning objective. And of course, we're going to share ideas for classroom activities and lesson plans using those learning objectives. Okay, so for now, we're going to warm up a little bit, okay, before we start the session. And this is gonna take some 5 minutes, so let's not take longer than that, okay? I would like you to think of English skills and abilities that you think is needed for your students' academic success. So let's see, for example, your students preparing to study at a university in UK, for example. It's his first year. What type of skills and abilities do you think he will need in order to be ready for his first year? Let's talk about just the first year. What do you think? What type of abilities, okay, he'll need? For example, what type of reading skills, listening skills, speaking and writing skills do you think they will need in order to cope with all the information that he will be facing, he will be seeing there, right? And list at least one for each one of the categories, each one of the parts of the test, okay? And I would like to add to that list any question that you may have about the TOEFL iBT test, okay? So let me know if you have a question about this little activity. And when you have the list done, please share in the chat, okay? So on the chat, so we can read it, okay? Please let me know if you don't have, if you have any question, okay? So I will give you 3 to 5 minutes, and let me know when you are done. All right, so we have some information here shared, okay, by Ana Paula. Thank you, Ana Paula, for your contributions. So Ana Paula mentions that for reading academic texts, she mentions skimming, scanning, detail reading, plus critical reading. Okay, so she also mentions paraphrasing, summarizing, and note-taking skills when listening, while reading, etc. And organizing a paragraph properly. So those are very, very good information. Those are very good skills mentioned, and I think they're essentials, right? They're pretty much essentials for academic success. When you're reading a text, okay, you don't have time to read every single word, right? You need this skill of skimming and scanning the information, okay? And look for detailed information on the text, okay? And critical reading, okay? The critical reading is really important, okay? But the TOEFL iBT actually doesn't evaluate much this skill, okay? But of course, you have to, I would say, analytical reading, okay? And for you to analyze any information, okay? And of course, having critical thoughts and critical opinions, okay? And you will have to read, okay? And pay attention pretty much on what you are reading and the organization that you make in terms of the information, okay? The paraphrasing and summarizing are really, really important, okay? And of course, when you're writing, the last one, organizing a paragraph properly, okay, when you're writing. So those are excellent skills, and yes, those are students' academic success, okay, skills. So student will need to have those skills stimulated, right? Practice those skills when they are studying for the TOEFL iBT, because that's what is going to be assessed. Those are some of the skills that will be assessed on the TOEFL iBT. Any question about the TOEFL iBT? It looks like Juan didn't add anything here. Any question? Thank you very much, Anna, for your contribution. So we're going now to talk a little bit about the TOEFL iBT, and you will see that on all the content that we will provide here and you will have on the manual, you will see that those skills that were shared by Ana Paula, it will be here. So we will mention about those skills. So what is the TOEFL iBT? So the TOEFL iBT test measures the ability to use and understand English at the university level. And it evaluates the ability to combine listening, reading, speaking, and writing skills to perform academic tasks. Okay, so a reminder that the TOEFL iBT is 100% academically focused. Okay, so that's why it is accepted in more than 12,000 institutions all over the world, and most of those institutions are educational institutions, higher education institutions, okay, because that's exactly what the institutions want to know about the student, about their academic English, and that's what is assessed on the TOEFL iBT. TOEFL iBT provides fair and objective scoring, and we'll talk more about scoring later, okay? Provides valid and reliable information to support score users, okay? Those institutions that will receive the results of your student's test, okay? And the student can take the test here in Brazil at a testing center or home, okay, from home, with the home edition. The home edition is a testing option that was launched back in 2020 when the pandemic hit Brazil. All the institutions, all the centers needed to be closed. So the students needed to have a way to be tested. So that's why that's why ETS created the TOEFL Home Edition, and that now the students can take the same test, okay? Same test, same questions, same reliability, same structure from home. They only need to use their own equipment, okay? And about research based for the TOEFL iBT, how do test designers decide which task to include on the test? To measure how well someone can do something and then describe that performance is important to design tasks that closely resemble what people need to do in the real world. So that's why when TOEFL iBT was designed, the TOEFL test, TOEFL researchers decided, studied what students actually do in the university setting. So this is called real-world text analysis. So they created those real-world tasks in order to analyze the language, the skills and arrangements of skills needed to perform the real-world task, and then the design of assessment of those tasks. So the TOEFL iBT test is backed by extensive. So how did ETS design the tasks that are on the TOEFL iBT? That's a question that a lot of teachers want to know, right? How did ETS design the tasks that are on the TOEFL iBT? So the TOEFL iBT test is backed by extensive research. There are over 200 research monographs that have been written specifically about the test. And one example is this one, the MS21, that later we can provide the link to you. And you can find all these research papers in this TOEFL research link here. So this one, for example, the reading, writing, speaking, and listening tasks important for academic success at the undergraduate and graduate levels. This is just one example of the variety of research that has been done in order to create the TOEFL iBT and the tests. So integrated skills approach, this is something that is unique on the TOEFL iBT, okay? And is included on the TOEFL iBT. It's an integrated skills approach, and it is authentic because it reflects how we really use language. When we speak or write, we are almost always responding to something we have listened to or read or both. So these skills, this approach is included on the TOEFL iBT. So when the student takes the speaking and the writing parts of the test, they will be involved in all the 4 skills. So that's why it's called integrated skills. The speaking and the writing questions, they will find the integrated skills. And you will learn more about that with Edson next session and with me on the following session of the writing. Okay, let's talk about the TOEFL iBT format. Okay, I am sure that you've heard that the TOEFL iBT has been updated Okay, the test has been updated. So since July 26th, the TOEFL iBT now less than 2 hours. So your student will take the test in less than 2 hours. Before that, before July 26th, it was 3 hours and a half, and the test was reduced to less than 2 hours, okay? So now the students take, the format is pretty much the same, okay? First, the students will take the reading, okay, part. He will read 2 texts, okay, and answer to 10 questions for each text, each passage, okay? In this first section here, he will take 35 minutes to finish this text, this part, okay? And then he will take the listening. This listening is the second part of the test, okay, with 36 minutes, 3 lectures, 2 conversations, and 28 questions total, okay? After the listening, he will go directly to the speaking part, okay? You might have heard that in between the listening and the speaking, in the previous format, there was a break here, a 10-minute break. But now there is no break, okay? So get your students prepared to know that they are not gonna have break in this new update version of the TOEFL, okay? They will take the test in less than 2 hours without break, okay? So for the speaking part, there was no change on this part, okay? It continues the same for tasks, and he or she will finish this part in 16 minutes, okay? I forgot to tell you about the reading here, okay? The reading part now has only 2 reading passages, but before this, the test taker would read either 3 or 4 texts, okay? And now it's only 2, no more than 2 texts to read, okay? The last session writing is still 2 tasks. The only difference now is that the academic discussion was substituted by the independent writing was substituted by the writing from an academic discussion, okay? And we will talk about this task on the last session of this workshop, which will be on October 13th, okay? The writing part is 29 minutes total, okay? So as you can see, it's less than 2 hours, and the TOEFL scores go from 0 to 120, okay? 30 points for each part, a total of 0 to 120, okay? Questions for the overview? I'm looking at the time here. I don't want to stay with you guys more than 1 hour and a half, because this is Friday, right? Friday night, sexto. So it's 6:40. So we still have time for questions. So I will give you guys some time to send me questions on the material that I just shared with you, okay? Please take a look. I will give, since we have plenty of time, please take a look at your manual, okay? So your workshop manual, the first pages, in the first pages, you will see content about the overview of the test. You're gonna see more information about the integrated skills. You're going to see more information about the structure of the test, okay? And also communicative competence. You also are going to see information about that. Let me open here mine. So Juan, I'm sorry, I was on mute. I was mute. Can you please let me know, Juan, if they're having problem opening the link?
Dear Professor, nobody reported that they have any problem when accessing the document. If it is the case, please let us know here in the chat.
Yes. So I don't know. I think I was mute. I think I was on mute. On page 8, I would like you to take a look at the learning strategies on page 8 of your manual. So instructors who capitalize on communicative language teaching can help students become responsible for their own learning by showing them such learning strategies as predicting the subject of a text based on its title, or information learned from associated captions or pictures, right? Discussing or thinking about a subject before reading or hearing about it, guessing the meaning of vocabulary from context, breaking a sentence or word into parts to understand its meaning. So all these strategies are suggestions of the TOEFL iBT for you to share with your students, and I'm sure you already work with these learning strategies. But what I would like to highlight here is that though these strategies here are related to communicative language teaching, which is the base, okay, of all the content assessed on the TOEFL iBT, okay? So using notes and outlines to plan what to say or write before beginning a talk. So this type of instruction is, it really matches with what is assessed on the TOEFL iBT and what the TOEFL iBT look for, okay? Looks for on the students' tests, okay? All right, so any question before we move on to the reading section? No questions? All right, so let's go to next session, the reading, okay? From pages 9 to 12, you can find all the information, not all the information, but much more of the information that we are going to share here, okay? All right, so nearly all English-speaking academic situations require students to do a lot of reading. Yes, and that's very true. And that's not only at a English academic environment. We know it's all over the world, right? Here in Brazil, at our universities, we are involved with a lot of reading, especially for those graduate students. There's a lot of reading for graduate students, okay? So during my experience as a graduate student at the University of Washington, I was required to do a lot of reading. So students will need to read their textbooks and understand the information there well enough to discuss it and write about it. So to be successful in an academic situation, in a university situation, students will need to be able to read efficiently and accurately in English. All right, so anybody has a challenge? Anybody has challenges when teaching reading to their students? Any type of issues that you find when you're teaching reading to your students? English reading to your students? Please let let me know on the chat, okay? I would appreciate if you could contribute to this question, okay? Any challenge that you might face when you're teaching reading to your students? Okay, so let's learn a little bit about the content, okay, and the format, the structure of the TOEFL iBT reading section. So the reading passages are all authentic texts that come from academic university sources. The reading questions measure the ability to comprehend basic facts and vocabulary, the ability to make inference on the sentence level or across multiple parts of a text, and the ability to read to learn, for example, the ability to distinguish essential points of information from non-essential information. So as indicated before, raw scores are converted to scale scores on the TOEFL iBT, 0 to 30, right? So the last question of the reading set in each set is worth 2 points, okay? So test design, reading tasks on the TOEFL iBT design measures reading for basic comprehension and inference and reading to learn. So what about the background, right? One way of understanding how reading comprehension operates is through what is called reading purposes. That is why people read texts. In the academic context, students read for various reasons, but generally the most important are to understand basic information, for example, the gist or specific details, and to learn from text, for example, to understand a text as a whole, okay, so it can be summarized, or to understand which points in the text are essential and which ones are not essentials. Students also have to make inferences about what they read. For example, from generalization or draw conclusions from what they have read. Identifying the purposes for reading were important for developing the questions of the TOEFL iBT, but there may be more than one purpose behind a single reading questions. And the differences may not be immediately clear all times. So students will be expected to read and understand articles and information from other resources and reference materials such as newspapers, professional journals, the internet, fictions and nonfiction literature, historical and biographical works, technical manuals, academic journals. Please let me know if these are some of the materials that you use with your students. Have you been using this material? These are important material and they are used for the question types, okay? Used on the question types. Let me see if I have any contribution here. Oh, someone has shared. My biggest issues is that many of my students have basic understanding of English. They usually struggle very much with reading quickly, even though we work on skimming and scanning skills. Yes, students are very anxious. They want to read everything, right? They want to understand everything. They want to read things quickly. And we need to work on those strategies, right? On strategies, on those communicative language approach with them in order for them to apply those strategies, in order for them to become a good reader and to be patient and to understand that they don't need to read they don't need to understand everything, but yes, they need to understand the major idea of what's being said and what's being written. But you say that skimming and scanning skills, you work those skills with your students, and that is very important. That's very important. That's because they won't have time to read everything, right? And we know that the more our students read, they better improve their English. They improve their English through reading, learning words, learning the words, and memorize those. Practicing, not memorizing, my practice reading those words in different contexts. So the reading practice is one of the best way of improving your students' English level, students' English proficiency level. What about the text types? What are the types of texts that are presented on the TOEFL iBT? Okay, we already know that they will read 2 texts, right? 2 passages. And from those 2 passages, they will respond to 10 questions each text, okay? So all TOEFL reading passages represent these 3 basic categories: narration, which is the description of an event or a historical or biographical topic; exposition, which are explanations of ideas; or argumentation, providing reasons leading to a conclusion. So those categories generally fall into one of these other categories: description, definition, sequence, procedure, cause effect, classification, compare contrast, and problem solution. So those are the types of texts that they will read, okay, on the TOEFL iBT. And here is one example of a type of text that your students will see on the TOEFL iBT. Okay, not a long text, 3 paragraphs, 2 big ones and 1 short one, 2 long ones and 1 short. Okay, applied arts and fine arts. Do you think that your students will need to be a student of art in order to understand, in order to comprehend this context and answer the questions? What do you think? Do you think they need to be studying arts in order to get the major idea of this subject and respond to the questions? Yes or no? Anybody? Somebody? Anybody, please help me. Do they need to be? No, yes, nope, nope, nope. You've been answering here. You've been answering here. Thank you, Juan. No, everything they need will be in the text, exactly. Everything they will need in order to respond to questions will be in the text. The only thing that they need to do is, you already know, they need to practice those reading strategies in order to find the answer, right? And some of you have already shared those strategies, okay, which are scanning, skimming, okay, reading for detail, summarizing, okay, paraphrasing. All of those strategies will be very helpful in order for them to find the answers. Okay, and a good thing is that your students will have 3 minutes to read this passage. Okay, 3 minutes, and then when they have to answer a question, a context will be in front of them in order to answer the question. Okay, they're not going to be just the question in front of them and they don't know what to do with that question. No, TOEFL iBT will bring the context, okay, next to the question, and will ask a question. Okay, we'll ask the question related to that context, and it can be a sentence, it can be a paragraph. Okay. All right. So learning objectives, it's important for us teachers to know that all the materials in this workshop map out the connections between test questions in all the sessions of the TOEFL iBT test and their underlying learning objectives. Okay. For each question designed for the TOEFL iBT, there is a specific learning objective, which means that every time the test takers practice for the TOEFL, they are learning the English they will use in real academic life. In the activities book that you will see on this manual, you will find examples of classroom activities that may help you prepare your students to achieve their individual English learning objectives. The question will always be displayed on the left and the text will be on the right side of the screen on test day. Okay, so it's essential that we as teachers, when we are helping our students to improve a skill and use materials from, for example, the TOEFL iBT, a question from the TOEFL iBT with your classroom plan, you know that for each one of those questions, okay, there is a learning objective for each one of those questions. Okay. For example, the basic comprehension, okay, there is a learning for each one of those questions. There is a learning objective that you find on your manual, and I will present some of these questions with the learning objectives of each questions. Okay, so the question types on the TOEFL iBT are divided in basic comprehension, which is vocabulary, sentence simplification, factual and negative fact, and reading to learn, which is prose, summary, classify, categorize, and organize, and inference, okay, which follows into the inference, rhetorical purpose, and insert text types of questions. Okay, so your students will see those types of questions on the TOEFL iBT. Okay, and in each one representing one of those categories: basic comprehension, reading to learn, and inference. Let's talk about one example, okay, of a question type on the reading section. It's called sentence simplification question. That's one of the question on basic comprehension category. Okay. So sentence simplification questions ask your students to identify a sentence that has essentially the same meaning as a sentence from the reading passage. The correct answer choice contains the main ideas from the sentence in the passage, but may leave out minor or unimportant details. It should restate the most important information in a simpler way. And what about the learning objectives of that question? Okay, so the learning objectives of the sentence simplification question is to recognize and create accurate paraphrases of information from a text. Ana Paula has mentioned paraphrases, right? Paraphrasing. So when your student is practicing for this type of question, he is practicing paraphrasing, okay? Accurate paraphrasing, okay? So this type of question asks the test taker to identify a sentence that has essentially the same meaning as the sentence from the reading question. These questions are easy to recognize because at the wording of the question is always exactly the same. Now, what do you think could be the best answer for this question? So I'll give you 2 minutes and you will be practicing paraphrasing, right? Accurate paraphrasing. So let's take 2 minutes to see what do you think would be the sentence that best expresses the essential information in that main sentence. I'll give you 2 minutes. When you are done, when you get your answer, just type it on the chat. Okay, A, B, C, or D. All right, so C or A, B, C, or D? Somebody said A. Okay. 2 people, 3 of you have said letter A, so let's check. Yes, it is letter A, okay. The first sentence best expresses what is the main sentence here. Scientists believe that large amounts of nitric acid in melted rock were released by the explosion, causing fires that probably destroyed most of Earth's plant life. So this is a very good practice of paraphrasing. We said this sentence informed the same thing, okay? Share the same information, but with different words, okay? So that's exactly what the TOEFL iBT will look for on the candidate, on the test taker. If he's good at paraphrasing, okay. If he's not good, not good, let's not use this expression, but if he's able to paraphrase sentences, paraphrase paragraphs, okay, because that's he's gonna need on the TOEFL iBT to paraphrase, okay, the context. Okay, now I would like you to take a look at your manual, please, on page 20. Do you have your manual with you? Oh no, sorry, not page 20. I went too far. That's listening. So you have on page 19, you have the reading passage, right? And you have the other types, examples, okay, of other types of questions, okay, types of questions, and the learning objectives, okay, of the questions that are presented here. A reminder that all these questions, okay, are the questions that the students will find on the TOEFL iBT. They're not gonna see all those questions, but many of those questions they will find, okay? And those are the only ones assessed on the TOEFL iBT. All right, so I'm looking at time here. Before I go to the next question, okay, which is insert text questions. And at this time, I'm going to share a video, okay, from our TOEFL, official TOEFL YouTube channel, okay? You can, this can be a great resource for you to use in your classes, because we can call this video aulas, okay? These series of videos, they are related to all the types of questions on the TOEFL iBT. So this guy here, his name is Michael Nab. He's the responsible for this series on the YouTube, okay? And it's called Inside the TOEFL Test. It's a very, very, very helpful resource for you to use with your students. I highly recommend you to use these YouTube videos with your students, for them not only to practice the questions, to practice the type of questions, but also to practice the listening. We know that our students nowadays, they love watching YouTube videos, right? So YouTube videos, they prefer watching videos to reading something. Don't you agree with that? Many students prefer to watching videos than reading an assignment, do an assignment through reading, okay? All right, so let's go to play this video. So Michael Nab will present the insert text question type on the reading section, and he will provide information about all the details of the question and how to build skills in order to practice for the question and improve the English as well. Let's go and tell me if you don't hear the video, okay?
Hi, I'm Michael from ETS. Today on Inside the TOEFL Test, we're going inside the TOEFL iBT reading section, specifically the insert text questions. The insert text questions are designed to show that you understand the logical order of ideas in a reading passage. In the reading section, every reading passage has one insert text question. But instead of choosing from a list of 4 choices, like with most reading questions, you will click on one of the 4 black squares to insert the text into the paragraph. During the real test, you can change the location of the sentence as many times as you need to, so you can see how it works in each of the 4 places. Here's a sample insert text question and the corresponding paragraph. Note that the sentence says, "This is the criterion," and it's important to look for pronouns. The pronoun here is this, so there's probably something about a criterion in the previous sentence. If we insert the sentence at square number 4, the previous sentence talks about the standard criterion, and the following sentence says, "Yet an equally important criterion." So that's a likely choice. And when you read those sentences together, the sentences do flow logically. So this is the correct answer. One tip for improving your reading is to really know your pronouns and to practice matching them to the words they refer to in a text. Here are a few of the most common pronouns that you will see when you read. There are lots of ways to improve your English skills. Whatever you do, keep practicing. And good luck on your TOEFL test.
All right. So insert text question. Any question about this this question? Any question about this type of question? So this is one of the most popular questions on the reading section. Okay, so we saw that it's important to help our students with pronouns. Okay, usually to identify the pronouns on the paragraph. Okay, that they are reading, that they are looking for, and which subject, right, those pronouns are related. So it's very important to look at those aspects of that question. So if we go...
Hi, I'm Michael from ETS. Today on Inside the TOEFL Test...
I don't want this. I want to go back to the type of text. Okay, so let's go to your manual. Okay, before we go here, let's go to a manual. So please go to page basic comprehension, reading to learn. Okay, in France. Let's go to page 17, please, on the manual. Page 17. So let's go through the inference question, okay, on the inference reading. So inference questions is another question, okay, that your students will probably find on the TOEFL iBT. The learning objectives of these type of questions is to make inferences, form generalizations, and draw conclusions based on what is implied in a passage. Okay, and here we have an example. Okay, students will see a text. Sorry, we will see a paragraph. Remember that I said that every time that the student will see a question, will have a question, okay, they will have a context in order to base their response. Okay, so for this example of this inference example, there is a passage about the 19th century. Okay, so the students will need to read it and choose which of the following could be inferred from paragraph 1 about candles before the 19th century. So it's all about candles, right? In the 19th century. So in this type of question, what do you think? What do you think would be needed? The student will need in order to find this, to respond to this question. We know that is an inference question, right? It's something related to inference, okay? They need to, what is inferred, okay, in this paragraph, okay, about candles. And why the letter C, why do you think the letter C is the answer for this question? So I will give you 2 minutes in order for you to go through this question, okay? Do a skimming of this paragraph and tell me, why is letter C the answer? Anybody? Anybody has an answer? Has okay, somebody has contributed here. The first sentence already gave us the answer. If lighting was available to all from the 19th century on, it can be inferred that before that it wasn't. You are right, and this is I am. For me, it doesn't show your name, and I'm so sorry. I only see I am here, and thank you for contributing to this question, to this discussion. And yes, Igor. Okay, Igor. Yes, Igor. Very good, very good. So the first sentence, I was typing. The first set, oh, okay, who said that? Oh, okay. I was typing. So yes, the first sentence already says it, right? The 19th century brought with it a burst of new discoveries and blah, 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 and then candles and made lighting available to all, okay? So before that, okay, candles were not available to all. And the student needs to be very, very, to pay attention to the question, okay? Another skill that the students need to, how can I say, practice, is to read the question very carefully, okay? The questions is only about candles. You don't need to read the rest of the information that is there, right? They're only asking information about candles, and you will find that in the first sentence of the paragraph. Very good, that's the answer, right? Yes, they have to scan, exactly. Very good. Thank you very much. All right, so I think we are good about questions for now, okay? But I would like, not for questions, okay? We still are going to talk about questions, and I have a question, okay, for you. Which other types of TOEFL questions do you think will best prepare your students for the university English experience? So we just read about inference questions, right? Which help our students to work inferencing, right? We saw the insert text. We also saw the other questions related to paraphrasing. So which other types of TOEFL questions do you think will best prepare your students for the university English experience? I would like you to take 1 minute, just 1 minute. I'm taking a look at the time. Just 1 minute. Go through the other questions and just type here on the chat. Which one do you think will best prepare your student? Okay, so I will give 1 minute for that. We're almost done with our first session, okay? All right, anybody? Okay, Igor says that I think prose summary questions can prepare the students for the academic experience. It will be highly demanded from them. Okay, prose summary questions. Prose summary questions. So Ana Paula and Igor, they agree that prose summary questions are the most difficult ones. And the most difficult ones, and probably those ones they will find on the test, right? And they are very good practice of their English, okay, and of the academic English. I mean, the academic English. Yes, I think so too. I think it's a great question. It's a great type of question, and you can find on the activities book. Okay, if you go on, let me see, where is the activities book? I think here. Okay, so if you go on the activities book from page 56 to 73, okay, you will find that type of question. No, not that type of questions. So, different types of activities to practice all the questions that we have seen here. Okay, so I have a home assignment, okay, for you for next time. So you will dedicate some of your time in order to keep practicing your English, keep practicing the skills assessed on the TOEFL iBT. And what I would like you to do before you come to the next session with Professor Edson, I would like to skim the activity book, okay? Go to pages 56 to 73, okay? And I would like you to respond which activities would be most usable for you students, okay? which one of those activities do you think there are? Oh, my students' profile, they will really like this activity, and they will practice their English. They will interact with each other, so it will be a good way to practice what they have been learning. Okay, and I would like you to also say to choose one of those activities to look at in depth, and tell us how will this activity prepare students for the TOEFL test and real life tasks. Okay, so we will skim the activity book, and you will see all the activities, and you will choose one and look at it in depth and tell us how will this activity prepare your student for the TOEFL test and real life test. Okay, take a print, okay, so you don't miss this home assignment, and you can bring that to Professor Edson next session, okay, and share with him. Okay, I might be there, I will be there, and I would like you to just share. Okay, you can just share with us, we don't need to talk about it, just share on the chat. Okay, all right, so now I am open to questions. I know I'm looking at the time, and I know that we have 1 minute according to my watch. 1 minute. So any questions about what we shared here? Any question what you saw about the information you read on the manual? Any questions related to the TOEFL iBT? No questions. Thank you, Igor. All right, so I see that Juan has shared that next session, it's gonna be on September 29th. Although, however, the time has changed, okay? It's not at 6 p.m. anymore. It's gonna start at 4 p.m. It goes from 4 to 6 p.m. I highly recommend you guys to don't miss this session, okay? Because you will learn about 2 important skills of the TOEFL iBT, and speaking is one of those, okay, one of the sessions. So don't miss the next session with Professor Canella. He will be here covering all the information about listening and speaking, okay? And all right, so if we have no questions, it looks like everything is clear, and I really appreciate your participation. Thank you very much for your time, and I will see you on the next session. These are our emails, our Brazil team emails. If you have further questions about the workshop, about what we shared today, about what is going to be shared in the following sessions, please let me and Professor Canella know. We will respond to your emails, okay? It was a great pleasure to be here with you. Thank you very much. And Professor Canella, would like you to say something to your teachers? Don't miss next session.
Not a lot. Okay, I've heard that you assign homework for them. Okay, but don't worry, you're gonna just write what you've learned with this activity that you're gonna look at it in depth, and hopefully we're gonna have a very good time on the 29th. Okay, talking about listening and speaking, and that is the bicho papão, okay, for us Brazilian. And you're gonna see that nothing is that it's a kind of exaggerating to think that speaking is something out of this world. And in fact, it's easy, isn't it, Professor Adriani?
Yeah, it's not that easy. It
Yeah,
is.
it
You
is.
need
It's
to
just a matter of
practice.
a training. It's just a matter of
Yeah.
training, okay? You have to speak what they want you to speak. You have to give the answers according to what they expect you to say, okay? So we are going to try to teach you, not to teach you, but to let you know how you're going to teach your students there's two sessions, these two skills in the TOEFL iBT, okay? The new TOEFL iBT.
Yes, exactly.
Okay,
So
bye-bye.
don't miss the next sessions, and have a great weekend. Bye-bye, guys. Thank you, Juan.
Bye.
Thank you for your
Only
help.
before finishing, please let me make you know that
Sure.
and remember you that it is necessary for you to obtain your certificate to mark your presence on the attendance list that was shared with you in the comments. And on behalf of the international Brazilian groups of universities, we would like to express our sincere gratitude for today's presentation. Thank you all for joining us, and we're looking forward for have more informative and engaging sessions ahead with you. Have a good night.
Thank you, Juan. Have you a good night,
Thank you. Good night.
Juan. Good night,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Have a great
Enjoy
night.
your weekend.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.